Good morning. Welcome back to the Retirement Report. I'm Hank Parrott, your host. With me, my good friend and special guest, Russ Cook with Russ Cook and Associates over in Brentwood, Tennessee. Russ is a board-certified estate planning attorney. That's all he does. Been doing it for 30 years. My goodness.
Yes.
And they're talking about
Amazing.
Taxes and estate planning. You know, this is one of those areas. These two pair together, and having someone that really knows that both areas of law there for you is so important, and in particular the quality of the documents. We've been talking about also how to pair together how annuities working within trust can add some additional value. All right, some great benefits, and we're going to get into that in a little more detail. But first, I'm going to offer out again for the first 10 callers to my office this morning, 615-376-5325. Tess is standing by to get your information. She will send you out a checklist of things to bring to your appointment with me. And what we're talking about is a comprehensive financial plan, a free retirement income analysis to show you your financial future based on the things you're doing now. What are the biggest concerns we all have, right? We don't want to run out of money. We want to make sure, in fact, that we can maintain our current standard of living and maybe even add in, right, some fun money. We want to have some enjoy those retirement years. So how to add in that fun money and still not have to worry about ever running out of money, and being able to grow our income over our lifetimes to be able to stay ahead of inflation and taxes. These are all common concerns. None of us want to worry about being broke in our 80s when we can't go back to work maybe and do something about it. So again, this is what we're going to do, show you your financial future. The common question I hear many times, am I able to retire when I want to retire and not have these, not have to worry about running out of money and being able to attain and maintain my standard living quality of life. So those we answer, and we show you based on what you're doing, would you be able to do that? And then we'll share some strategies to help you not only attain those goals, all right, but how to do so and minimizing risk at the same time, so that you don't have to worry. It seems like everything's fine, and then we go through a big bear market and we're set behind. There's in particular, when you're taking money out of retirement accounts, when you retire and you start taking money out as opposed to putting money in, there's a new risk that you take on. Now, besides investment risk, besides inflation risk, besides interest rate risk, right? We don't have enough risk already. Now there's something called sequence of return risk. And this can be the difference between running out of money and never having to worry about money. So understanding how to address that risk is one critical part to retirement planning and taking income from retirement accounts in retirement. So again, if you want to take advantage of this, first 10 callers to my office, 615-376-5325. Tess will get your information. She'll send you out a checklist, and we're including this week with Russ's blessing here, that if you want to get an estate planning review as well, bring in your estate planning documents, have Russ take a look at those for you. We can arrange that in addition, okay? And again, all at no charge. So again, 615-376-5325. Tess will get your information, send you out a checklist of things to bring to your appointment with me. And in addition, when you come in to see me, I'll give you a free copy of my book, 7 Steps to Financial Freedom in Retirement. All right, so we're going to jump back now about trusts. We're talking about trusts this morning, the types of trusts. So Russ, one of the basics, one of a revocable living trust versus a testamentary trust. So let's talk about that.
Well, a revocable living trust, or a trust that's created while you're living, is a document. They can either be revocable or irrevocable. And then when you pass, a trust that's created at your death is called a testamentary trust, and they're irrevocable because the person that created it is dead. So necessary documents in certain situations, and just going through the uses of these documents, as we mentioned before, the revocable trust is mainly for you. You create it for your benefit, you die, and it transitions into an irrevocable trust. In some situations, you may want to create an irrevocable trust while you're living. So for example, let's say you're looking to qualify for Medicaid or government benefits down the road, and you want to move assets out of your estate. A lot of folks create irrevocable trusts. Well, once you fund that trust, you don't necessarily want that trust to keep paying income tax on the monies that are earned inside it. So there, an annuity might help in deferring that income tax issue. Let's say you want to create an irrevocable trust for a special needs child. It's the same thing. You're wanting to make sure they're not having to pay income tax on monies they don't need, so the annuity can help with that. Or maybe you're just creating an irrevocable trust for someone else and they don't have special needs. Again, you're wanting to make sure you can monitor that income issue. So there are reasons to create irrevocable trusts while you're living, inter vivos trusts for other people, and you got to be mindful of the tax issues. So just remember, revocable trusts, no tax issues, tax to you. Irrevocable trusts may or may not be taxed to you, but usually you want to not force income out of the investments and then have to deal with it through the trust document. When you pass an irrevocable trust, or your revocable trust turns into an irrevocable trust, is typical for most of our clients because they want to protect the inheritance after they pass, and they pass it on to their kids. Tennessee has some very great trust laws where you can protect inheritance. You can even make the child the trustee. Those are irrevocable trusts. They're testamentary trusts, meaning they come into fruition when you pass. Testamentary death, basically. And that can be done through a revocable trust or a will. Either document can create these type of trusts. And in that situation, you're faced with the same issue. Do you want to create a situation, or at this point you're passing and the kids are trustee or someone else is trustee, they will want to make sure they're not causing the trust to have to report a lot of taxable income, because at that point you are subject to the trust rates, which can in most cases be higher than the individual rates. And so again, an annuity works perfect in that situation to make sure you monitor that. And the types of testamentary trusts: husband dies, he might create one for his wife to protect the assets from the wife's new spouse that everyone knows the wife says she's not going to get, or the husband says he's not going to get, but happens anyways, or any other third-party creditors. And then same for the kids for their life. So definitely look into this. And one final note, there are what are called Medicaid qualified annuities. I know I'm going off on a rabbit trail here, but I just wanted to bring that up because a lot of folks will say, well, how do mom and dad qualify for Medicare? Well, there are options, and an annuity is one that they need to look at.
So Medicaid, if you're doing Medicaid or long-term, this is for long-term care type planning with the goal of preserving assets for, it could be for a surviving spouse, you know, or let's say if you, well, we don't, this could be a whole show in and of itself, so yes. I'm going to save this one. We won't quite go down there. But basically understanding that trusts and annuities, again, can work together in this type of planning for much the same reason. These are ways that we can pair up to protect. Both of these, trusts and annuities, can be used to help you control how money's used. It can help you with tax benefits, controlling basically how your tax, what your tax rates are going to be in the future, because you can control what your income's going to be. So if you can turn on, turn off income, and you can have it growing tax deferred and just take out what you need, that gives you all kinds of control in terms of what your taxes are going to be in the future. It could keep you from maybe bumping up into a bracket, as you'll have the ability to take care of that. The other part, asset protection features. Trusts offer asset protection features, and annuities offer asset protection features. So sometimes pairing these together gives us an added benefit as well. When we're talking about revocable trust versus irrevocable trust, here's something else. In particular, let's talk about a living trust versus a testamentary trust. So Russ, one of the areas there, the pros and cons. So with a living trust, we had talked about earlier, you can now have the ability, if you have in a period of incapacity, it makes it easier to administer and take care of the assets even better, much better in fact, than just a power of attorney alone, as an example. So this is where a trust can be a real benefit, and with a testamentary trust, of course, we're not going to get that. Now then the other side of that, we'll say, would be with regard to when you're setting up, where many attorneys might set up a testamentary trust, a will with a trust in it, is where it comes to basically funding the trust up front. So a will, they're not going to have to worry about all that. With a revocable trust, now we've got, for it to do what we expect and avoid probate and all those things, we're going to have to put the assets in there or have it named as beneficiary, that type of thing. And I guess that's probably one of the downsides, right?
It is, and there's a misconception. We'll have clients that come in and say, hey, I have a trust, and they'll hand me a will, and what they have is a testamentary trust.
Right.
But if you're wanting to avoid the probate process, you're wanting to take care of any issues that might come up during your life as far as incapacity, you want to make sure it's easier to transition those assets to your family members. You're really looking at a trust you set up during your life, a revocable trust that you fund with your assets, and you allow that trust then to control those assets. You're the trustee, you're the beneficiary, you file your tax returns the same way, it handles everything for you.
And one of the things in my office, any of my clients, when we set up estate planning, we get that trust set up, in my office, we'll take care of that for you, okay? So if you're, this is one of the areas, the attorney does your documents. So Russ's office would do your documents for you, and in addition to that, would take care of making sure any real estate's transferred in. And that's pretty standard across attorneys that do that type of estate planning. And I think Russ maybe even offers some options beyond that. In my office, we do that for our clients. That's consideration. There's no charge for that, and we'll assist them in the funding of their trust and making sure that those assets get into the trust so it does exactly what you want it to do in terms of probate issues and other issues as well down the road in terms of this administration. Okay, we're gonna have to take another break, but when we come back, we'll try to flesh this out just a little bit more, again about some of the values and benefits that you can have of blending together the use of annuities and trust in your estate plan. All right, but first a quick break. Join us here. We'll be right back on the Retirement Report.